Welcome to another edition of What the Fuck's Happening. What the Fuck's? What the Fuck's Happening is here, wherever that may be. And such. Alright, words again. And, Piro has a little set of words, and they're just so different than words I would focus on. Consider the important words and vocabulary, or the important concepts in philosophy. He worries about art and spirituality, the mush of life, what bugs want, what they like to eat, what do bugs like to eat. So the theme of this is going to be something like we're just fancy bugs, and we have this advantage of having this intelligent brain. I mean, it's capable of compiling lots of information, lots of data, and organizing it. And then, where a bug just sits on a tree and doesn't even know what a tree is, it just bark to the bug. It's just a texture, a surface that might have food on it. He doesn't understand it as anything in any context. He's like on the city sidewalk, and that's all he knows. I had to relocate some vermin, from my house. I was just thinking about that when I was relocating them, that some of it ain't so bad. I mean, obviously it's bad getting relocated. I'm not going to appreciate it when it happens to me. But they're living in this little world, where all they know is the walls of my house and, this certain little kind of life. And out there, there's streams and trees and leaves and, all kinds of interesting stuff going on. And they have no clue that that world exists because they don't have the intelligence to understand it. And it's sort of like when I think about the lions, eating their food and, doing it in kind of a nasty way. They just don't understand. They don't know that they're being assholes. That, I could kill it quicker, couldn't I? I don't have to, eat it before it's dead. Yeah, I could wait till first kill it, then eat it. Do it in the right order. That's being more polite. If you have to do this horrible thing, then, do it in a decent way. And if they could have context and understanding, well, then they could know, oh yeah, I can fix that. I can do better. I can be more efficient. I don't have to be an asshole about it, an idiot. I don't have to waste suffering. I can, maximize and do it the best way possible, understanding the function. So a word that should be over there is function. What you get is images. Who knows? I put it on centered, so it should now be, it should be. In some respects, you'll get a new clip, which will be nice, and what's the word? Like an enlargement, but it can also be big trouble. Depends on what's in the center of the picture. So who knows? But anyway, I got to work on making this all more something. But that's sort of the point, though, is that it's not supposed to be something. It's just supposed to be a human conversation, And so that's the part that's just kind of weird, is that you think about people like Piro, and they really are living in a completely different contextual world, where they want to keep bugs bugs. They want to keep humans stupid. Don't worry about the truth, because the truth isn't going to make you happy. It doesn't say it overtly, but clearly his whole philosophy is a resistance to recognizing things like determinism, that you are what you were programmed to be by your life experience, and that all your subjective tastes are, horribly hardwired into you, and they're hard to change. Bad habits are bad habits, and some of those habits are quite physical, and again, it's like the wiring demands it, not just some sort of programming, but it's almost like you're physiologically wired and stuck in being a certain kind of bug. You have the brain of a certain kind of bug, and you just can't understand other bugs, and you can't act like other bugs. You can only act like the kind of bug you are. You're not going to have their habits. You're not going to have their way of life. You're not going to understand it. You're going to find them annoying. You might even kill them and eat them because they're annoying. just for that. You might kill them just because they're annoying, without even eating them, because they're going to be irritating. But that's all. We're just living out the same bug life. We're just doing it a little bit more complicated because we use this capacity to be intelligent, to understand what you can scheme and get away with, and how you can manipulate things, and the circumstances to make sure you get the better piece of pie, and you get this and you get that. You win, they lose, blah blah blah. So you can play a strategy game, but you don't have enough strategy to know what the real game is, because you're still living like a bug on a sidewalk somewhere. You're living in a very small world. You're not living in the real context of your existence, which is recognizing this whole evolution thing, recognizing the determinism of it all, the fact that everything you desire has been imposed on you. You didn't choose to find certain things beautiful and it's so cool and I love that. You really didn't. And all of those things just don't mean much, because I can reform the soda machine or the bug to like almost anything. I can make a Jeffrey Dahmer, somebody who enjoys, having sexual relations with dead people. I can make you into something that desires anything almost, that finds anything enjoyable and fun and pleasurable and soothing and comforting. So it's all just mush. That's the mush part of us, because most people don't have enough intelligence to realize that, that's really stupid programming. I mean, that wasn't like, we didn't go out and scientifically find the right thing to like and the wrong thing to like, and then like the right thing and hate the wrong thing. We didn't do this in any kind of rational way. We did it in a sloppy bug way, where the game was whoever plays the game and can tolerate this imbecilic rules. The deserve has very little to do with it, and cheating works. So we're a byproduct of people playing that kind of game, and so we tend to be built to play a shitty game, because that's the game we've been given for thousands of years, and our kind have figured out to play that game. So so vocabulary is just so tricky, because there's just so many words in language that are just bullshitisms, like the word like love or something. I'm not saying the concept of devotion or passion are bad things. I'd keep the word devotion, I keep the word respect, and I keep the word passion, but the word love is not a good word. It's too mushy, too many wacky definitions, too much fluff and bullshit tied to it. So we should be obligated to use the more elemental words to describe what we mean when we want to say I love something. Do you admire it? Do you appreciate the work that went into it? What exactly is it that you're valuing? Or are you just wanting to say something like me horny? Because those are very different things. Saying me horny and saying I can appreciate the value of it, those things aren't necessarily anywhere close to the same thing. It's my critter alert. Anyway, vermin. But anyway, it just never ends. I don't know what went on. The farm next door did a lot of changes, so maybe that's, there's just nothing around here. I mean, there's some empty buildings, but there's just, I think it's the neighbor. He feeds birds. I think he's feeding rats. He's not feeding birds. He's feeding frickin' rats. But anyway, but yes, it's just really important to kind of understand that context. It's like a rat. It can live anywhere. You can change lots of different environments. And the trick is, I think a rat would want, just like we kind of would want, to live in the real world. Not in the wall world, or the city subway world, or the sewer world. He'd the rat would want to know what the real world is. He wouldn't want to be, left ignorant and unaware and, living a less than as complete as possible life in that sense. Being deprived of the choice even to choose to stay in the sewer or to choose something else. But again, this idea of choosing is just another word that kind of needs to be just kind of thrown away. This choice always has to be understood in the context that you have mechanical programming, and that mechanical programming is going to make the decision. The knowledge, how much you can nag yourself with some principle versus the, ooh, I want that, I want that, I want that. And that's all there's going to be, is a battle between the only two elements you have, which is knowledge of right and wrong, knowledge of how competent the cops are at arresting you and getting away with whatever your petty crime is. In that context, I'm just saying not that all of our crimes are actual crimes. Clearly we all do things where you're fat and you want to lose weight, and then you eat when you're not supposed to, that kind of stuff. And the fact is that if you didn't really choose to break your diet, it happened because the balance between your passion for one thing wasn't strong enough to overcome the passion for another. I've used the metaphor before about this whole game we're playing where intelligence had some value in nature. Was the most obvious example would be this idea of hunger. And you're hungry, you want to get some food, but getting food exposes you to danger. So there's always this balance between how hungry are you and how afraid are you. And we all kind of know that there's a point where the one passion overwhelms the other, and you're stuck. And so clearly this is the same argument that can be made in terms of comparing it to optimism versus pessimism. Yes, I've obviously gone and gotten food and had an arm hacked off, so I'm much more aware of the risk than the person who hasn't had the arm hacked off. And so the amount of hunger I need to motivate me to risk the other arm is going to be so much higher than for somebody who never had their arm hacked off. And that's all that we're really comparing as human beings, is life experience that's either taught you that life is fun or it's taught you that life is dangerous. And that's the big philosophical perspective that you could say is around the subject of antinatalism. It's just the difference between people who have seen the trap snap right in front of them, like they almost got it, or they've seen other people get it, and they've gotten the message that this is way too dangerous to impose on anybody. And the reason why I'm playing is because I'm a stupid bug that's addicted, that's attached, because that's part of the mechanism that keeps us going to traps, the hunger. We're hungry, we do have a passion. We sense that we're not done yet, even though we can understand you're not going to cure cancer, you're not going to do anything important, you're just going to get some disease and die, so it's not going to be good. But we think we have, I got dishes to wash, can't leave them behind. I got stuff to organize. I got condoms I haven't used. Maybe there's hope. But that's what drives us. It's just that little putrid crap. It's not any big philosophical understanding that motivates people. They're motivated by the itchy feelings of their little legs. Their little legs want to move, and so they move. It's a crude force that drives us, not the intelligence. The intelligence doesn't drive. And whatever intelligence we can acquire, I would argue that the more intelligence you do acquire, the more it's going to be a negative force, not a positive force. It is not going to motivate you to play a bad game. It's going to motivate you to either fix the game or stop the game or do something about it. because you're going to just see the fact that, well, this is way too expensive, and way too risky to impose on somebody. You just don't sit there and pull somebody out of nowhere and throw them in this let's draw straws game. That's just not fair at all. That's not playing good, because overall the game, it has huge inadequacies in terms of the losses are real. I mean, they're not just, oh, you lost 5 points, oh, you don't get any frosting on your cake. No, the losses are hard, brutal, death of your loved ones and, your children, and all kinds of experiences that, are just going to sit there and float around inside of your head for the rest of your existence, just mocking you almost, in terms of, what are you, what are you doing? Why are you still marching in a parade that is, it's a mockery. It's such a waste. There's not much you can argue, except you can just say, okay, people are stupid. I mean, what else can be said? I mean, they don't pay much attention. They don't really give a crap about getting it right. They just talk out of their face, as if it were their ass. Essentially farting, they're talking in somebody's direction. They might as well be farting in somebody's direction, because they're not really saying anything that matters. They're just talking shit, because they have no context. There's some bug on the sidewalk talking about how, about worlds they haven't even imagined, let alone actually walked in. And so the walked in just reminds my brain, because my brain works, unlike your people, like the phrase walking in other people's shoes. They haven't done any of that. They haven't spent any time really imagining all the crap that's going on right now. The little fire whistles that are going off, and who's it for this time? See, fire whistle reminds me again, just because the last week, 4 or 5 days, I've had a fire whistle stuck in my head. So when everything goes quiet in here, I hear the whistle. It's not a good thing. It's a little better lately. Last 2 days have been better than it was 3 days ago. So, maybe it's just some passing brain phase. But it does make you, it makes you appreciate what insanity is like, because you get a little touch of it and you say, oh shit, that must be what insanity is like. You got this fucking bullshit going on in your head, and it just keeps saying, something horrible. But that's another mechanism. Like, again, that this reminds me of the fact that, what's a good way of explaining the difference between us might just be is those mechanisms in life where reality, our reaction to it was different, because as I've sort of explained in the past, that when I was a kid at night going to bed, I wasn't thinking about all the great stuff I was going to be doing tomorrow. Very often I was thinking about what is happening to people right now on Earth. I was thinking about the starving Chinese people, and then I think about the Africans, and I think about this, and I think about all the bad things that are happening to people right this second, right now, right this moment. They're being snuffed. Somebody's dying right now. And they have a whole story. They had a whole life. And, now they're just dying, and shit's coming out of their ass, and, they're a corpse. And, and so all these thoughts obviously aren't very, life is fun kind of thoughts. They're, a recognition that all this is happening and nobody's paying any attention. No one cares. So a plane crashes and a few people get killed. Everybody cares, and they talk about it for weeks. But every day there's a ton of people with stories, and none of those stories matter to anybody. Somehow those stories aren't important. But the whole family tree of the 9/11 victims, their whole family tree has to be written in gold somewhere. All their ancestors have to be acknowledged. Everything about their existence has to be, it's this precious, precious, precious thing worth billions and billions of dollars per little precious individual. And you just say, this is just obviously insane. It's not just a little bit insane, it's insanely insane. But this is, people don't notice that this is insane. This is an insane way to appreciate the game, to understand the game we're in, the game that's gobbling us up every day, that's killing us, the war we're fighting in, and this is their understanding of it. That only means something if you can die spectacularly. Your life doesn't mean anything unless you die in a funny or bizarre way. If you get consumed by the system, so what? Who cares? You got to die on TV. Or you don't mean anything. Obviously, it's just glaringly so bad. You just say, what kind of dumb machine wouldn't be able to figure out they got to fix that? That doesn't seem quite right. You can't talk about how this thing is precious 1 minute and then ignore the hammers hitting the diamonds all day and smashing them into dust. It just doesn't make any sense. And again, and part of it is, I think, built into everything. It's built into the broken vocabulary, because we have all these phrases and these words that we smash together that, just in these cliche phrases that don't mean anything. The cliche phrase that should be standing out is, let's not be bugs. I mean, we can do better than bug. We can be more than fancy bugs. We can recognize that's our obligation as intelligences, is to acquire the knowledge and combine it and compile it and understand, it's evolution. And that's the real monster here. It makes monsters. And we're fortunate to be monsters that can know better. And we can do something about it. And doing something about it doesn't mean just keep laying eggs like all the other bugs. Just keep imposing a bad game. It means something like might even mean, yes, you have to acknowledge that there isn't enough value in this cycle of life, death, and forgetfulness that's worth the death, the harm that is imposed through the process. Because that's all it really is. I mean, it's this stupid process of, you can see it in the vermin, right? The short life, born, reproduce, die. There's nothing else there. That's all they get. Struggle, fight every day, and there's a victory in just redoing that over and over and over and over in an insane redundancy, reliving that life over and over and over and over again, hearing that trap snap over and over and over and over again. No. So anyway, the facts are, in my opinion, glaring. Okay, so evolution, glaring facts. That we are, that our origins are buggy. That we are, in a sense, just a kind of replicating machine, a monster, a device attempting to take. And we demonstrate in everything we do. There's no doubt about it. We're still making war on each other. We can't figure out how to, make systems that aren't parasitic in their very function. So we haven't stepped out of that bug role. But we can, the facts that will enable us to see it are right in front of us. So the fact is that it's not at all obscure or complex. You don't need to have a big giant volume of information to understand how expensive life is, how risky it is, how deserve doesn't have much to do with it, how it's just you got to get lucky or unlucky. Born in the right country, born in the right decades, and all that kind of stuff. A totally non-meritorious systems that we've created. All that's quite obvious, and that nature has no appreciation. The system that we're a byproduct of, it molests and rapes and then kills children, in obscene numbers. So the very thing we think of as precious is the thing it takes the highest toll on, and imposes the harshest penalties on. And why is that acceptable? What's the logic to defend that beyond just saying me horny, me hungry, me no wanna not play? But again, that argument, it's you can satisfy your needs without having to impose, without having to create somebody else. The lion can kill more efficiently. We're smart lions. We can understand that. Don't impose. We can understand that. It's a good idea, not imposing. Especially when it's a trivial imposition, like you're not even that hungry. And I would argue this drive to have children isn't something people do out of intelligence. It's something they do out of recklessness. Young people do it. Idiots. Like smoking. Kids start smoking. Only colossal assholes, like Piro and the Amazing Atheist, start smoking when they're adults. I mean, you have to be a fucking imbecile. So, so it's not, the facts of our life is not that complicated. The truth of it is, the evidence is just gigantic, that there really isn't any fancy, complex, mysterious universe out there. It runs on crude, reliable, dependable mechanisms. It's clockwork of grinder, and the living organism is just a silly machine, a Xerox machine, and built by this DNA replication. So it goes back to the fact that this molecule replicates, and the consequence of replicating is you're going to be forced somewhere, to annihilate some of the copies, because replicating doesn't work as a job. If all you do is replicate and everybody's replicating, that can't work, because you fill all of the universe with your copies. There's not enough material to make them out of. There's nothing for them to eat. It just can't work. So the replicating machine will have to have a design put into it where it kills the copy. So it makes copies and it tears them up and throws them away. Make a copy, throw it away. Make a copy, throw it away. That's the machine where people are saying, life, it's one day, life is so... That's what it does. It makes copies, figures out that you can't have too many, so it just tears them up and throws them away in obscene numbers, because this replicating thing is so precious. When no, it's just a function, and now the function has been modified by evolution. I mean, first it had to teach us how to eat our own shit. That's what evolution was. Is the oxygen was the byproduct in the first origin life. Oxygen was poo, and we had to become poo eaters. It's ironic. But that's the function, and there's no limit to how messy or sloppy or horrible it could get in this, through this natural process. How much torture can be imposed. So, in cases like octopuses or something, yes, they'll have thousands of young, fully developed, fully octopusy, and annihilate, 2,000 to have one. 2,000 to 1 will survive childhood. 2,000 to 1. And Nietzsche will say that's brilliant, when obviously, a rational thinking machine would realize that's not brilliant at all. That's just as absolutely horrible as you can imagine. And it's just because, they've found a way of replicating that is so much more efficient than our way, just through this evolutionary process. Would you just sit there and say it's, be stunned at it? If that's how the life we were living, would people still find rationalizations? Would they still, if it's 2,000 to 1, our children died at a rate of 2,000 for every one that survived to be 15 years old. So you killed 2,000 kids to have one 15-year-old. Would everybody still be saying, what a great game? And, clearly even our own biology, the numbers were still bad, 10 to 1. 10 kids killed for every one that survived in the natural state for a human being. That would have been the average production for a woman. So a woman would have spent her life, a big giant part of it being, pregnant, having kids, going through the racket of trying to keep them alive and failing most of the time. And watching that, living through it over and over and over again. That's what does. That's the design. It's an insidiously stupid, and so far below what your expectations should be, and what your demand should be. You should be demanding better than this. You should demand better than a game where you have to take the food out of somebody else's mouth, where you have to compete with things just as valuable as yourself to get your daily bread. You should find it offensive and disgusting that you're somehow obligated, to trip the other horses in the race, so to speak. And recognize the consequences of your gratification and how expensive it is, and how many other animals will have to be brutally killed to maintain your livable planet, to produce your oxygen that you consume every day. It should offend you that people, it offends me to think that somebody was dumb enough, sorry Dad and Mom, to think I would find this a satisfactory game to play. That I'd say, I'd be just a willing participant in this potluck, razor blade in your apple kind of game. Oh yeah, go eat an apple, Jimmy. Well, yeah, it might have a razor blade in it, but so what? Deserve doesn't have anything to do with it. Too bad. You got cancer when you're 10. It's just, sorry, you're unlucky. Too bad, fucker. I can't believe somebody would be that glib and impose that on me and say, that's okay, that's a good game for you to play. What? How stupid can you be? You see the world. You've been really lucky. So you get... And this is the ironic part, right? There's a whole bunch of people on antidepressants having kids. And it's just so fun. Oh, yeah, I was suicidal for 3 years. Oh, yeah, I was mega depressed. And they're having kids. You're just saying... So they already know it's a bullshit game. That any minute, you get a brain tumor, go insane. Any minute something can happen to you, you're totally fucked. Your wife is destitute, and your kids are eating food stamp food. What are you doing? So frickin' stupid. And the reason why it stays stupid, I suppose, is just because they get away with being that stupid, because everybody else is just saying it. Everybody else is propagandizing for the Nazi party. They're all saying, oh no, the blue uniforms are fun. Okay, just pretend they don't have guns, pretend they don't have clubs, pretend they didn't kill a whole bunch of people, pretend they didn't burn down house. Pretend. And so they all just pretend that somehow it makes sense. And so then everybody just plays along. And, that's all my parents did. They just played along. Everybody else is doing it. I'll do it. I won't think about it first and say, is this a good idea? No, I just do it like everybody else. Just step in the mud because everybody else has mud on their feet. I'll go get mud on my feet. And the mud's blood. That's the joke of it. The ironic joke. So, so it stays viable because smart people are just placaters. They just sit there and they're like some psychotic mother who can't see that their kids are overweight and keeps shoving food in front. Oh, Jimmy, you're starving. You're down to 300 pounds. Somehow they just don't connect the fact that the kid is 60 pounds overweight. He can miss a meal or two, or 5, or 20, or 50. But they can't see it for some reason. So, like the anorexic girl, all that kind of psychology bullshit. Somehow they're living in, they just can't do the reality thing. So they have to keep pretending for their own sake, I guess. Pretending for some reason that no, we can solve the problem by ignoring it. No, if we just pretend it doesn't, we'll just pretend, there's no determinism, we're not evolved from bugs, the system does have a glorious, this show will get so much better eventually. I mean, it's a really bad play. I mean, it's just a stupid, Mutt and Jeff or Punch and Judy or what. I mean, it's just stupid, whack, hack, stupid shit play. And they keep thinking that somewhere it's going to have some Shakespearean ending. And so they just keep holding out. Like, oh yeah, we're going to have a big finish. They've seen the history. They know it. And they keep thinking, oh yeah, it's going to get so much better when, we get thorium. No. Just delusional bullshit that just keeps the ball rolling. So it's not like pushing. It's not like they just see a ball rolling by and they just give it a little roll. Oh, I'll give it a little extra pat. Hi, ball. Hi. So that's how it keeps rolling. They're just not paying any attention. And they're not realizing, oh, it's rolling over people. That's what all that red shit is. Oh. It's like the Martians stop by and say, can you give me a gallon of gas? And there's blood dripping off of the ship. And sure, I'm a good guy. Hi, friendly. That's their relationship. They just turn nature into some friendly little poofy, circly thing with a little smiley face, a little Gaia face. I'm Earth, I love you. That's why I'm going to brutally kill you. I mean, it's just so fucking stupid. And just because they all, it's the movies too, I guess. Movies tell these stories and, people get caught up in this whole heroic nonsense and they don't even see the obvious flaw in the theory. This is like the Lord of the Rings is such a stupid movies in some ways. I mean, it's just moronic, like the running thing with the little dwarf guy. And, they keep pretending he's slower than the other two guys when he runs hundreds of miles and he's only 30 feet behind them the whole time. So he has to be running exactly as fast as they are. I mean, stupid shit like that. But also the stupid shit is that they're all sword fighters. They're all been doing it their whole life. They're all warriors. And all the people all the peasants are dirty, miserable looking horror. And somehow they're fighting for their life. Fighting for what? You obviously have failed at living. This is before the bad guys even show up. So before the bad guys are even doing anything, they haven't even sent the dragons yet. They haven't sent the monsters yet. And their life is an obvious failure. And you just, what are you fighting for? What are you going to win? You'll all take a bath for one day, put your little king hat on and say, oh, we won. And then you'll go right back to living like bugs. Stupid. just glaringly stupid, but somehow it's just, oh yeah, it's worth it. Yeah, well, sure, millions of us died horribly, from stab wounds, but yeah, it was worth it. I'm sure. I didn't get stabbed, so I'm sure it was worth it because I didn't get stabbed. So, I guess that's probably enough. Yeah, that's probably enough. Yeah, I could respond to comments, but I don't think I bother. I mean, people just, they make these stupid suggestions like I should go to another website that's the same bullshit, or that I should make videos on the other channels, or this. I've sort of made the point. The point is Google is evil, and I probably should not participate while I'm in this protest period for that reason. It probably would be better to migrate people off of their addiction to these evil sources that do require conformity and in some way, like I said, if I can find other places that this would be possible to, other individuals out who have been banished from the systems, and network them and do different, there's other things to encourage, but I mean, there certainly shouldn't be just playing along while I'm claiming a protest. So that's why I think I'll stay on the website. Okay? Sorry, but that's the way it is. I mean, it's very inconvenient for me. I have to process these files, and frankly, Linux, doesn't do video conversions very well. So, I mean, I had to spend a whole day to try to figure out how to make a WebM file that didn't take 6 hours to process. Jeez. But you have to make WebMs for the Androids and such. I thought it was the other way around, but, it's the Androids that need the WebMs. I think. But anyway, it's just irritating that they never fix that. So anyway, so yeah, it's to my own inconvenience to stay on the website, but I'm going to do it, I think. So, lump it, fuckers. Yeah, I think that's enough. And such and so forth. I mean, my brain wants to say something like, I guess people have this expectation that I'm going to fix everything. And I've sort of made the argument that, no, I'm just part of the system working up to the fix. I mean, I can't do I'm not the final version. I'm not the, I'm just part of the process of organizing, the mighty hammer that will smash the meat grinder. It's more of a battle than me against the world. I mean, if all you've got is me, you're in big trouble as a cause. If you're holding out, that somehow you have the expectation that I can do it on my own, then I'd call that a silly expectation. So anyway, till the next time, and such. Yeah. And clearly the millionaires aren't going to show up to help us out, unfortunately. So it's going to be a long battle. Longer. Probably. Just a lot of things depend, right? Just this whole fame and fortune thing is just so arbitrary. So who knows how it's going to work out. Everything could start going right tomorrow. Just boom. everything just falls into place. Being a little hopeful, but whatever. Anyway, till the next time. And such. Maybe I'll wait for, I don't like geese much. Wait for a better picture to finish on. Hopefully nothing too horrible. Just shocking. Well, no, go ahead. I hope there was something shocking. It's all just part of the bizarre show. I mean, this whole life game is just such a fraud and a phony. We're all living in such a... It's all full of so much pretense. You know, the hair has to be, you know, like this much on that side and this much on that side. Your eyes have to be in, you know, sort of in a plane here. You can't have one down here and one up there. And, you know, I have to obey all these stupid rules about what it is to be a, you know, the people's objections or their sensibilities are so delicate. That, you know, it's just stupid. Well, not too good either, so, but we like the word efficiency. It's one of our favorites. So the phrase is insufficiently efficient. The game is insufficiently efficient, which equals unacceptable, if unacceptable ever meant unacceptable. See, the problem with unacceptable as a word is unacceptable doesn't mean unacceptable, because we constantly keep accepting the unacceptable. So, you know, yeah, so it's a better title just to say it's overtly insufficiently efficient, and that's what it is. But no point in talking about acceptability, because clearly we accept things that are insufficiently efficient. And we do because assholes, like Pyrrho, keep defending it. Anyway, till next time. And such.